191.
Hello, hashtag VersTEAv family, and welcome. It's week 191, and I wanted to give a special heartfelt shout out to 1991's release of Phyllis Hyman's album Prime of My Life, which is actually one of my favorite albums. Like, that's one of my top to bottom play. Like, just press play on the top one, just let it play. That's one of my those albums. I love it. And not only do I love that album, I will love passing the baton on to our good friend Basic Complexity to take it away with our music choices for the week.
All right, so with my music choices for the week, and this might be the last time I do this for a while. All right, so after after Christmas, just stepping away from the holiday thing, but just because, all right, granted, I'm like 2 days late, but in celebration of the new year, my fairly old school song is, and I can't pronounce this right, so Aaron, could you help me out with this?
Old Lang Syne.
Thank you. And that version is by Mariah Carey off of her 2010 Christmas album, Merry Christmas 2, number 2. You. Yeah, and that is my fairly somewhat old school song.
I know that's right. Now I'm gonna get a little bit old, just a little bit older, actually. But I must say, I actually recently saw an interview because I heard that like Mariah Carey was calling herself the Queen of Christmas, and I at this holiday season, I remember talking with one of my cousins about that, and we both shared a chuckle. You know, as Mariah Carey lovers, like we both chuckled like the Queen of Christmas. What? And I saw Mariah Carey in an interview, and she's like, I don't know who said that I call myself the Queen of Christmas, but that's nonsense. I never said that. Somebody just put those words in my mouth, and it's like that's I'm glad that she cleared that up. Anyway, my older song is coming from none other than the beautiful, illustrious Nancy Wilson. Her song "One More Try" from her 1997 album "If I Had My Way." Now that's also one of those albums that I can just start with the first one, press play, and go all the way through, all the way to top to bottom, all the way, love it all. And I came across that album in 2017, but I love it, and I love that that album, in my opinion, is like the quintessence of the best of all things in the 90s, late 90s. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this album so much. She did so well. And she even gives you like some diva belting. Like her style of music is not belting per se, but she does give you some good belting on the album. I'm like, oh, Nancy Wilson, phenomenal. Anyway, yeah, the song of Get Back. I particularly enjoy when she has the line in that song, I wanted you to be my king, but love is not a perfect thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, Nancy Wilson. I wanted you to be my king, and one more try. Let's give it one more try. One more. Anyway, Basic Complexity. What's the newer song?
All right, newer song. And yeah, once again, it is also a holiday song, and the newer song is, well, not brand new, but somewhat new. Um, is called, and I want to make sure I get this name right. It's called Blessed New Year, and that is by the Braxtons collectively. So it's from their 2015 Christmas album, Braxton Family Christmas.
The Braxtons are outstanding as always. And I wanted us to shout out our good friends at Erican Productions with their new show called The Braxton. And that's all it's not the Braxton family values. Like it's not the actual Braxton people, but one of their newer shows is called The Braxton. My newer song, it's coming from the one and only Echo Smith and their song "Over My Head," over my head, over my head, over my head, and that came out in 2018. And in the video, I remember that they were doing that finger thing, like over my head, and that song is so dope, and it reminds me of pleasant memories about the fact that the time when I was newly living in West Baltimore. I moved into a basement in a house, and I was sharing a house with housemates, and we were all like millennials, and it was just really cool, you know. And I had to also say that at that time, yes, I one of my exes sort of almost came back into my life, but the wrong way. But I possibly will leave that alone. But almost came back into my life. And then I told him that I was renting a basement in a house at that time because I, you know, F what people think about where you live. It's all about you doing what's right for whatever you want. And I enjoyed living there. And when I told him that I was renting a basement in a house, he was like, "Oh, you're renting a basement?" And this is exactly what he said. I thought you would be farther along in life by now. And I was like, "Ooh, okay, okay." And he stopped talking to me after that. He was like, "Oh, I think I left my watch on. I have to go." It's like, oh, okay, cool. But somebody else that I was friends with, ironically, back when I lived in Baltimore, then I moved to DC and I lived there with my granddad. And when he didn't know that I had moved in with my granddad at first. So he called and he was like, "Oh my gosh, Aaron, I see you doing it up. You moving to DC. You must be doing real well living in DC now. All right, how are you, friend? How you doing, friend?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. I'm doing well. And yourself?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, you know." And I say, "Yeah, I actually live with my granddad. We share a place." And he was like, "What? You live with your granddad?" And he was like, it was another situation of, "Oh, I I think I left my watch on, friend. I have to go attend to it. I'll talk to you later. Never talk to me again. But that was fine. That was fine because something I learned during my life in DC is that a lot of people are very. My personal experience was that a number of people, not a lot, but a number of people that I came because for crying out loud, you and I were friends when I was in DC for crying out loud. But a number of people are they really care about your position in life and stuff like that. And if you are not where it's at, financially and professionally and the like and or the like, you will they won't want much to do with you. Now that's not everybody, but that's a number of people. Anyway, basic complexity. um so are you ready to get the show on the road, my friend?
Yeah.
Oh, right. You're like, it's about damn time. uh, uh, um By the way, I was in the restaurant with a friend of mine the other yesterday,
Mhm.
and they played Lizzo's song "Feeling Good," and she has a line in that song. She's like, "About damn time." Anyway, but yeah. All right,
But
and here we go.
don't
Oh. Hashtag obligatory semantics at lek.utaya. Hashtag VersTEAv191
Dating is so hard, I don't understand it. What don't you understand? Okay, so you meet somebody and you go out on a date and you kiss. On the lips? Yes, on the lips. Okay, just checking. Okay, so now that you kiss, that means that you're together, right? No, not really. Okay, but you've gone on more dates and you keep kissing, so that means you're together. No, it just means that you're talking. Talking? Yeah, you're not dating, you're just talking. Okay, so what happens if we go out on a few more dates and we start liking each other? Now we're together. Nope, now you are catching feels. So we're not talking anymore, we're just catching feels. Pretty much. Okay, but after one of our dates, we made sexy time with each other. Nice. So after sex, now we're together. Nope. Now you are in a situationship. What is a situationship? It's like a non-exclusive romantic arrangement. I don't even know what the hell that means. It just means that you're both confused. Jesus Christ. Okay, so at what point am I in a relationship with somebody? Honestly, when you both just communicate how you feel about each other. Oh, that seems pretty easy and straightforward. Yes, but nobody does it!
okay. Yeah, after watching the video, it really confuses me personally. I just stick with the basics, really. Um, like basics of uh talking, dating, or in a relationship. My reaction just my reaction to this is I'm sorry. My reaction to this is just like it is unnecessary unnecessarily confusing. And my sense just is that they sorry my sense is that they just keep on adding stuff to this, which is just making it more complicated than it needs to be. And that's what I have.
All right. My initial reaction to this video is that her reproduction of that, because of course it wasn't her voice, obviously, but it was so on point. and so correct. And one of the many reasons why I don't like dating is because of that very situation. Like dating statuses, people make so like it has to be so complicated. And I get it. I'm somebody who complicates it sometimes too. And just like you were saying, it reminded me of the song. Why you wanna go and make things so complicated? I see the way you. Anyway, but yes, Avril Lavigne, taking it back to the early 2000s for us. And my connection is my reason why my what I believe is the reason why people are that way and making things complicated ultimately is people want to be continually available and don't want to they want to be continually available for their right one and don't want to run the risk of missing their right one. And a long lesson that I had to learn was that exact same uh, way of thinking, because I was like, well, I don't want to miss my one by being stuck with somebody who might not be the one, not realizing that what you need to do is work together to grow in each other's oneness. Anyway, outside influences convince us, the general population, that there is a magical the one for us. And once we find that magical the one, everything will just fall into place personally and just simply work. And because human couples generally are private with their internal problems, we see only the perfect aspects of the coupling. We don't see the struggles because not everybody's going to put their struggles on Front Street because it's private. And we cite this as personal empirical evidence that when it's right, it's easy, but it's not. And they have issues too. And the difference is some people choose not to quit. Physical violence is always a no. I'll finish in my 1 minute. Basic complexity.
Let's just quickly make a official stance.
Okay. All right. Now I will finish with a 1 minute and then my sentence. And yep. I remember in my general social psychology class at Howard University. I always have to shout out Howard anyway. But my general social psychology class, we discussed the fact that human beings are inherently hardwired to not like rejection, right? And
Okay.
formally asking someone the status of a relationship can seem like you're being thirsty, and nobody wants to be thirsty, you know? And like even Mariah Carey did a song about it, which would be one of our songs one week. Anyway, but so we just played the guessing game all the way until our minds coincidentally meet. But yeah, so we just played the guessing game until our minds eventually coincidentally meet or the relationship ends. But there's got to be a better way. So my one sentence is humans don't like rejection. So we all play coy until we are rejected yet again, then try again for our magic one. It's a vicious cycle. Yes. Basic complexity, and you'll be first for this one again, my friend.
Hashtag IncensedOrNaw at Hollywood Unlocked at
Ms. Funky Dineva. Hashtag VersTEAv191B.
But I had this guy that I met at the bar, and every time we would get into an entanglement, he would FaceTime his wife and be like, hey, I'm with Q, and we'll be here for about 2 hours, and I'll call you when I'm on the way home or when I'm leaving or whatever. And she'd be like, hey, and I was like, this is really weird. I would tell him, don't put me on the FaceTime with her, whatever. But I grew to become fond that they had that type of open relationship. So anyway, he brought her in the bar last week, and I got to meet her for the first time. And I was drunk, and I took this woman to the bathroom, and I said, you know what? I'd like to thank you for sharing your husband with me.
Oh my God.
And she said, I don't control him. I don't want to own him, and he doesn't own me. And I'm glad that you guys have found whatever it is you found. And so we traded phone numbers, right? And this woman texted me. I'm going to change his name to XYZ for the sake of this story. And she said, so, hey, I'd like to organize a sexy surprise for XYZ, perhaps New Year's Eve, or if not, something close to it. I can't get out of my mind him enjoying himself in a truly uninhibited way. I'd love to see him embracing who he is. Are you open to setting something sexy up? And I wrote back, I could be down. And she said, well, let's talk tomorrow. So then she goes, I ain't gonna read y'all the rest. Well, then they got to arguing because she said, are you top or bottom, or you go both ways? I said, well, mostly top. So she says, so have you topped XYZ?
What? Wait, really? You're top?
Yeah. So she said, have you texted XYZ? And I said, no, we just, played around or whatever. She said, oh, okay, because he's not being forthcoming. I wish you had, though, because I wouldn't mind. And I'm not going to read the rest.
Sorry, but I really don't share. And of course, there could be exceptions, but that's extremely rare. For the most part, I just feel that a relationship should be between parties A and B. C through Z don't count. It don't have nothing to do with it. Now, however, if that's the thing, then I'm not hating at all. It's just typically not my thing per se. Because I have mainly noticed that I've mainly noticed try to make sure I read this right. Okay. Then because what I have mainly noticed has been typically when things like that happen, then someone typically would catch feelings. And that's why it's not my thing. Good, go ahead.
All right. So First of all, let's get into the fact that calling something an entanglement is just a common part of our natural vernacular now. Just, oh, it's an entanglement. Gotcha. And my initial reaction was memories of the fact that I actually used to have a major crush on Funky Dineva. I did. And Funky Dineva was one of our first openly Q plus social media celebrities, right? And I remember my crush on him was countered or balanced or whatever by the fact that he was kind of feminine sometimes, and sometimes he was like very feminine, hence being called Ms. Funky Dineva. Sometimes he was very feminine, and I would, because of where I have grown from, at that point, I was like, well, I wish he wasn't so feminine. Like, please, but I mean, you're so attractive, still is, but don't be so feminine, ew, because that's where I was at that time. I've had a lot of growing to do. Now, my connection, yeah, I was uncomfortable with that because I was uncomfortable with myself. And I remember what sort of helped me start growing out of that. A friend of mine who I dated off and on since my mid 20s, all the way up to 30. And anyway, but one thing that he said to me that was very wise is he was like, ultimately, at the end of the day, we all have a little bit of femininity in us. He's like, we're gay guys. We have to. Like, we sleep with other men. There has to be some femininity there. And even though I didn't acknowledge it as such at that time, I just took it as, wow, that's a good point. But I do acknowledge that thinking like that is sort of thinking along heteronormative lines to be like, well, you've got to have some woman to be with a man. It's like, anyway, but yeah, Dan Savage talked about how a lot of young homosexual, same gender loving people are that way, and we grow out of it. And I'm somebody who grew out of it. And I ask if you're incensed or no, because the way that they did that on screen question of if your man did XYZ, that was, I feel that it applies to connections with any genders, not just women and man and man, or whatever. It's whatever. But I'll take it in the rest in the 1 minute. Anyway, basic complexity. Ooh, what's your 1 minute and 1 sentence?
And yeah, it was where I was. But actually, yeah, I think this is it. Just all right, and you have to excuse me if I said this part if I read it. Now, if that's their thing, then of course I'm not hating. It's just typically not my thing. Because what I've mainly noticed has been that typically when things like that happen, then someone typically catches feelings. Now, my 1 sentence is, and really, I don't have a life experience directly, but just based on what I have observed, really properly firsthand, it normally does not end well when people do that. Not saying that's always the case, but it is normally.
And yeah, that's why I asked if you're incensed or angered or no. And I'm with you, basic complexity, and that it's not for me personally, but the way that I feel about it is couples can do whatever they wish to do mutually as a couple. And if it works for them, it works for them. Now, I feel badly for people who have entered heterosexual relationships not being forthright about the fact that they are into both, and next thing you know, it's like I feel trapped, and oh, I want to have some homosexual relations. Like that's a struggle. But if it's that you both a struggle, and I feel for them. But if you're just both on the same page, and maybe you both came into your marriage as same gender loving people and want to explore that way, that's fine. And I found it interesting how on the show people were so confounded by his being a top, and they were so anyway. So my one sentence is ultimately, as long as all parties' hearts are cared for, I'm cool with any kind of action. But I personally am more traditional. Yeah. And I want my one who wants his one. That's me. But you do you safely.
Hashtag kindaGOTCHA at word porn. Hashtag VersTEAv191 On-screen text. Crazy part about being an overthinker is most of the time you are right.
My initial reaction is my personal connection to this. And I'd get that a lot from dudes. Dudes would love telling me that I'm an overthinker, and they would say it not in so many words, they would say it exactly. You are an overthinker. It's like, oh, okay, gotcha. And people become incensed when you foil them in their trick slash lie. We gonna trick him. People try to tell you lies, and when you foil them, that's when people become upset and bothered, hot and bothered. And when they don't know what to do, because of the fact that they don't know what to do, because they didn't think you were gonna find out their trick, their solution to it is to just blame you and say that you're the one who overthinks, darn you. Anyway, yeah, and they say you overthink because yes, you thought right, you found out right, and that's why they say you're an overthinker. And in the words of Faye Dunaway as Joan Crawford in 1981's Mommy Dearest movie, let them know that this ain't my first time at the rodeo. So they can't fool you. They can't fool us. This ain't our first time at the rodeo. And it's not like we try to foil you and your harebrained scheme, but If it doesn't make sense, my intellectual brothers and sisters can't help but call out nonsense. TBT, okay? And sorry.
All right. Well, first off, I completely agree, and I have experienced this a few times before myself when I was younger, definitely. Life experience I have personally had that relates to this was when a ex of mine, when I was younger, significantly younger, and I'm sorry, screen timed out. Alright, yeah, life experience I had that I personally had that relates to this was ex when I was significantly younger led to a heartbroken 19-year-old me. And that's what I have.
Right. And my one sentence is, I'll reiterate. We don't try to foil you and your harebrained scheme. But if it doesn't make sense, my intellectual brothers and sisters can't help but call out nonsense. Sorry. Basic complexity, your one sentence.
Yeah, trying to figure out if this is one sentence. It might be a long sentence. If you have a very strong feeling about something, then there's a good chance you might be right. However, you need a objective third party to review all the evidence you have.
And our closing topic. I'm excited about this one, basic complexity. Are you excited?
Yeah,
We're talking
of
about
course.
the queen. The queen.
Hashtag unknown at Ms. Mojo. Hashtag VersTEAv191D.
Number 1. Houston's sexuality. Right. Houston's sexuality didn't have a conclusive label. Based on everything we know about the singer, though, the film explores her sexuality from every angle.
My dream, sing what I want to sing, be how I want to be.
During her early days of fame, Houston denied being in an intimate relationship with Robin Crawford, her best friend, roomie, and executive assistant. Crawford also initially shot down these accusations, but 7 years after Houston's death, she confessed that their relationship had been sexual.
We were intimate on many levels, and all I can say was that it was very deep and we were very connected.
That changed after Houston entered the public eye, becoming romantically entangled with names like Jermaine Jackson and Bobby Brown.
She had those because those were expected of her, and she liked men too.
Houston married Brown and repeatedly professed her love for him. While she had a falling out with Crawford, many believed Houston's life would have turned out much differently had their relationship been accepted by her family and society.
I still loved her the same, and she loved me, and that was good enough.
Whew. All right. So, Initially, I had a lot of stuff written down about this, and I was like, if society was better sooner, then Whitney would have been able to live her non hetero truth without negative repercussions years ago. But society is evolving. Fortunately, we are better than we were. Thank you, Glad. I'm glad for Glad. Gay Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. Anyway, but yes, it would be disingenuous of me if I did not mention that while I was at Howard University learning, because I entered the gay dating realm at about 19 and learning from the older gays in the world, college age and beyond, and learning that they explained that why years ago, well, years prior, Whitney Houston actually straight up had a girlfriend at Howard University. You know, just straight up. That's just what it was, you know? And I thought that she was living a lie as a heterosexual because society wouldn't accept her as a homosexual. But I believe what the person at the end of this clip said, and that she was bi. She liked both. And as early millennial Oregon Trail generation, we were toward the end of people not being able to live their truth from jump. More people are able to live their truth from jump now. It's not perfect, but it's much better. And I have to shout out both TCs, TC as in Tevin Campbell and TC as in TC Carson, who both live their lives as openly homosexual men now, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And I wonder how my mom would have felt about it, because my mom used to love some TC Carson. Yes, she did. And at the end of the day, my mom was very much a liberal, open-minded woman. So she probably would have been cool with it. She would have just been like, well, that's what he likes. It's not like I was trying to get with TC Carson anyway. But also give a shout out to Ellen um, in the 90s who dealt with all of that crap, that fire that they put her through when she came out. Thank you. I thank them all. Thank you. Basic complexity, I'll finish it in the 1 minute.
After hearing this, in all honesty, I'm not sure if her life would have ended up differently, but on the same token, I'm not saying it wouldn't have it would have been different. Just really don't know. Maybe Robin Crawford would have gotten Whitney to cut back on or quit drugs altogether. Who knows? But even then, or even when Whitney passed, in the United States, was not fully accepting of other sexualities. Sorry, the screen keep blacking out.
Still not.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting to. It was not fully accepting of other sexualities, and even today, the country as a whole, is not fully accepting as a whole in general. And yeah, that's what I have.
Right. My 1 minute is it's so unfortunate, in my opinion, that Whitney's drug habit seems to have to, it's almost an obligatory thing for people to mention that with her legacy. It's like her legacy is, oh, she's an outstanding, beautiful, amazing, talented woman, but she did drugs. But that's not your fault, Basic Complexity, because the video itself talked about that. The video itself that references her movie that's coming out, I Want to Dance with Somebody, references that.
Yeah.
So it's like why does that have to be a part of the narrative of her life? Anyway, I changed my mind last night about talking about it that way because ultimately celebrities don't owe us their private lives. And she did love the fine Bobby Brown. And yes, if it was a different time, she could have been poly without it taking away from her beauty, like a novelty beauty, like, well, she's cute, but like fellow Oregon Trail generation member Janelle Monáe, in fact, she's bi and beautiful as all get out. Anyway, yeah, my one sentence. Yes, a different world might have produced different results, but celebrities don't owe us their private lives. If they don't want to do so, even if it helps advance a noble cause, they don't owe us their private lives.
My overall reaction is that I really don't care as far as her sexuality. If Whitney was alive today, then I would be like, do your thing. I don't care.
Call me stupid. I forgot. You already did your whole full reaction to it, right?
And that's a great question.
If not, go ahead and just do it. Do your initial reaction now, and I'll read my one sentence after.
I really don't even know if I did, but well, just
actually, I think you did.
Oh,
yeah. So you're just on your 1 minute and one sentence.
Yeah. All right. So.
Yes, you did.
When I said after hearing this, in all honesty, I'm not sure if her life would have ended up differently. My overall reaction is that I don't care. If Whitney was alive, then Yeah, but like, do your thing.
And there you have it.
Yeah.
And that closes our week 191. Basic complexity, I'm putting you on the spot, and if you don't have an answer, you don't have to. But do you want to name a 91 album that you love?
In all honesty, I can't think of one.
It's all good. So, and we don't even, we're right at an hour, so we're doing really well. We can just go ahead and close. I'm Aaron Mack. I don't think I said that at the very beginning, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm Aaron Mack, and this has been week 191. I'm Aaron Mack. You can find me at Aaron Mack, AARONMCK at VersTEAv191.com. Basic complexity. Can you do under the logo? Yes, basic complexity. All right. Aaron Mack at VersTEAv191.com. VersTEAv191.com. And we're all over social media at VersTEAv, or you can search hashtag VersTEAv. Like I said, we're all over social media. Basic complexity, where can we find you, my friend?
Yes. And I definitely don't have this memorized now. I could definitely be found at basic complexity at VersTEAv.com, and that's VersTEAvComplexity at VersTEAv.com.
And that's the same for your Instagram at Basic Complexity and TikTok at My Basic Complexity.
Because I couldn't seem to get it like I wanted it.
Teamwork, my friend. This has been week 191. And we'll talk to you later, social media family. Peace. VersTEAv.com. Stay blessed. Have a good night. All right. All right. Yes, sir.